welcome back to Well, That's Interesting, the hot damn I just love good news in the middle of the week edition. Today is episode 253. Thanks to wolves, aspen trees thrive in Yellowstone after 80 years, and Woylies, an adorable endangered marsupial, just made a huge comeback. My friends, I'm writing the notes to this episode in early August, so by the time you hear it, and if you're in the United States, God only knows what cliff of despair from which we are hanging. I'm just going to go ahead and assume we need good news. Well, not only do I have that, but girl, it involves furry creatures that you just want to smush. But please, refrain from doing so because one of them is very pointy, and the largest wild member of the dog family, clocking in at 145 pounds and easily 7 feet long, from the tip of their nose to the end of their tails. In the first half of the show, that stunning, pointy animal I was just talking about, the gray wolf. There are many a creature in our fair land with which the relationship with modern humans is, how shall I phrase this? Shitty. Really, incredibly, god-awful shitty. And not only is it shitty for the creature, but eventually the entire ecosystem they call, or sadly called, home. Although this is a mere 30-minute podcast, I'm going to do my best to run through that shittiness and the deep, problematic history of the gray wolf in the United States. Which is not great news, I know. But we're going to cap it off with a recent development that's currently leaving ecologists optimistic and will leave you feeling pretty damn good too. For this intro, and without giving anything away, I can tell you that although gray wolves inhabited North America for at least 700,000 years, after evolving from ancient wolf ancestors even earlier, over 5 million years, once the 1800s came around, all that would come to an end. White settlers expanding west completely eliminated the gray wolf from the United States by the 1950s. That's right, all gone, no more, within a century. By the mid-1990s, it was clear. Places like Yellowstone were suffering from the absence of this apex predator. For example, there, the population of elk skyrocketed to 18,000. Now, why would this be an issue? Well, an elk typically eats about 3 pounds of plants for every 100 pounds of its body weight per day. So if the average elk is around 700 pounds, that's just over a ton of grass, plants, and leaves a day for one elk. I think you could see where I'm going with this. So, humans took the bold move to correct a horrific wrong by reintroducing the gray wolf to Yellowstone. We will get into those details as well, and we will chomp into a recent study that revealed their slow and steady comeback not only balanced elk numbers, but led to the growth of fucking trees. Trees not seen in nearly 100 years. Then after the break, it'll be my honor to introduce you to your new favorite animal, the Woylie. And I'm going to show you some of the best damn rewilding photos you're ever going to see. Tom Hale of IFL Science describes these marsupials as a mouse crossed with a squirrel, but I swear I think they're way cuter than that. I mean, yeah, they have a mouse meets squirrel vibe, but I think you also need to throw in a dash of kangaroo, teddy bear, and Pixar magic to complete the look. These precious little fuckers grow to about 15 inches in length, and after this story, you're going to make enough space for them in your heart. In a very familiar tale, this species was nearly wiped out from their habitat over the last 100 years, a habitat covering around 60% of the Australian mainland. Despite that massive range, they still could not escape from or compete with the introduction of invasive species. To correct this wrong, the Australian Wildlife Conservancy, or AWC, set up an equally massive reserve housing the last of them. We will get into what that was, where it was, and we will bliss out over how successful it was. The photos are spring-loaded. In the meantime, hi, I'm Jill Chacha, and if this is your first time listening, welcome to the flock, my floofy business goose. To begin, I'm going to need you to grab your softest security blanket because I'm about to tell you some horrible things. We are going to run through over 100 years of air quotes wolf management at Yellowstone National Park, and it will suck. But don't worry, for real, the news will get oh so much better. But first, Wrap yourself in something plush and impenetrable as we dial back the time machine to a century the current administration and its cult members are obsessed with, the early 1800s. Westward expansion brought waves of settlers fueled by an intoxicating cocktail of optimism, greed, and naivete, which left many shrugging their starving shoulders at the question, how in the fuck do we survive out here? Their answer to this question was extremely American. Bring everything you own and kill whatever you find. Herbivores were easy pickings, with entire herds practically swallowed whole. Within a few decades, other non-human apex predators, gray wolves in this case, were left with so few options that funny-looking introduced species started to look mighty good. Sheep, cows, little pigs, and chickens. They were boxed in with nowhere to go, held within new things called farms. Now it was the wolves who had their easy pickings. The settlers, with clutched pearls, responded to such brash encroachment with extraordinary patriotism. By that I mean a relentless combination of poison and bullets. According to NPS.gov, when Yellowstone was established in 1872, gray wolves were scarce but somehow still present in the area. So early park managers, like Ranger Ted Ogston and Chief Ranger Sam Woodring, as seen over at today's post on the old socials, were pressured into protecting livestock and air quotes desirable wildlife, like deer and elk from bears, cougars, wolves of course, and coyotes. And as you can see by that photo, boy howdy, they went to town. They are surrounded by coyote pelts. Ranger Ted is beaming ear to ear, but Chief Ranger Sam is staring off into the distance with his arms down at his side. He looks tired. And maybe, just maybe, that's the moment he wondered, what happens when these creatures are gone? Well, judging by his face, he had no idea. And unfortunately, no one with the power to answer did so. By 1926, within 100 years, the last gray wolf was killed. Although, the occasional rumor of a sighting floated through the air and the ears of still struggling farmers, who then had to be reassured over and over, oh, no, don't worry. It's now the 1940s. We can smoke cigarettes while flying on a plane, and wolves are virtually eliminated from all lower 48 states. What a time to be alive. Well, that ruckus applause eventually came to a silence in the 1970s, when an intensive survey very much confirmed no evidence of a wolf population existed in Yellowstone. And a new generation was kinda pissed. As reported by the National Park Service website, which is hopefully still around by the time you hear this episode, quote, a growing national awareness of environmental issues led to laws like the 1973 Endangered Species Act, requiring the restoration of endangered species. By 1978, all wolf subspecies, except those in Minnesota, were federally listed as endangered, aligning with NPS policy to restore native species where feasible. End quote. So, in a remarkable turn of events, the gray wolf went from public enemy number one to a misunderstood creature most humans were trying to save. Most, but not all. Let's just say the idea of reintroducing the gray wolf to Yellowstone was met with a mix of strong opinions and a lengthy public discourse. According to the Greater Yellowstone Coalition, and this was before the internet, by the way, thousands of comments were received, ranging from support to concerns that included the safety of livestock, the safety of people, and the fate of hunting opportunities. Each side went back and forth and back for over a decade. During this time, as survey technology improved its accuracy, only one side provided some jaw-dropping statistics. Populations of elk were running unchecked to a point where you couldn't throw a goddamn rock without grazing a grazing 700-pound elk. Their population was believed to hover around 18,000, and their appetite had a visible impact. Quote, you had older trees and then nothing underneath, said Luke Painter, an ecologist at Oregon State University and lead author of the new study we're about to bite into, to Life Science. In that study, the authors mentioned the Northern Range, a magnificent section of the park that contains valleys of the upper Yellowstone River and tributaries that provide lower elevation winter foraging grounds for elk, deer, moose, and pronghorn. Sagebrush can be found here, along with willow trees and aging tall aspen. It's eye candy for us, but simply candy for them. As people debated amongst themselves, the park was being eaten from the inside out with no pause to give the land the time it needed to regenerate. By 1990, there was no evidence of aspen saplings smaller than 3 meters or 9 feet. If humans didn't act now, the forest would go the way of the wolf. There would be no park to speak of. Finally, in June of 1994, the Secretary of the Interior signed the Record of Decision, approving gray wolf reintroduction, and words turned into action. Quote, in late 1994, early 1995, and again in 1996, U.S. FWS and Canadian wildlife biologists captured wolves in Canada and relocated them to Yellowstone and central Idaho. In January 1995, 14 wolves were temporarily penned in Yellowstone. 8 arrived on January 12th and 6 more on January 19th. Each social group was kept together in acclimation pens. A second group of 17 wolves arrived in January 1996, with 11 brought in on January 23rd and 6 more on January 27th. The wolves ranging in age from 9 months to 5 years, and they weighed in at 72 to 130 pounds. They included individuals known to hunt bison, and breeding adults and younger pack members. Each wolf was fitted with a radio collar before relocation. While penned, wolves were fed twice weekly with elk, deer, moose, or bison carcasses and had minimal contact with humans. Law enforcement guarded the pens, and the surrounding areas were closed to visitors to prevent unauthorized access. Biologists monitored the wolves' welfare twice weekly using telemetry or visual observation during feedings. Although a 5-year reintroduction plan was anticipated, no transplants were needed after 1996 due to the program's early success. End quote from nps.gov. We need to talk about that success. By the end of 1996, 31 wolves were brought into Yellowstone, and today, on the day this episode airs, there are currently around 120 wolves within the boundaries of the park and distributed among 9 packs or so. The greater Yellowstone ecosystem, which includes the park and surrounding areas, is estimated to have around 500 wolves. And between 1995 and 2003, an 8-year survey, it showed that wolves killed significantly fewer livestock than expected. Just 256 sheep and 41 cattle. In 8 years, that's it. Guess what they focused on instead? Yeah, you're right, elk. Today, their numbers hover around 2,000. Which seems to be manageable. And that's just not me saying it. The proof is in the pudding. And the pudding in this case are baby aspen trees. So join me, will you, with Luke Painter, the ecologist at Oregon State University, and his team, who are having the goddamn time of their lives counting the number of aspen trees within 87 randomly selected aspen stands across the northern range. And this took place in August and September of 2020 and 2021. Now, I gave aspen stand a Google because I too was like, what exactly does that mean? And it turns out a stand is the term for a group of aspen trees. And they're considered a singular organism because they're connected by the root system. And if that sounds familiar, you are damn right. Way the fuck back in episode 195, we met Pando, a single tree that's its own forest, with more than 47,000 genetically identical aspen trees acting as stems. If you haven't had a listen, you really should. It is so large you can hear the root system. Anyway, back to these babies, which are no lie, babies, and it's great. Within those 87 stands, 30% had saplings throughout, which means they had 8 or more trees that were at or larger than 2 meters or 6 feet. 30% had what was considered a patchy number of saplings, somewhere between 5 and 8 trees, and the remaining 38% had a few, or less than 5. If that sounds like a damn improvement, you are right once more. Quote, we're seeing significant new growth of young aspen, and this is the first time that we've found it in our plots, Painter said to Chris Sims of Life Science. And continuing his quote, these are young aspen, with a trunk greater than 2 inches or 5 centimeters in diameter at chest height, which haven't been seen since the 1940s. It doesn't mean that they're not going to get killed or die from something, but it's a pretty good indication that we're getting some new trees. As they get bigger, they get more resilient. End quote. Well, yes, my lanky business goose. Baby aspens, not seen in 80 years, have returned, and it's believed they're able to thrive thanks to wolves. As Daniel Graham of DiscoverWildlife.com so aptly explained, the research team noted that this is very much looking to be a case of trophic cascade, where a shift at the top of the food chain, such as the reintroduction of predators, ripples through the ecosystem. Wolves, along with bears and cougars, have helped reduce elk numbers, giving aspen a chance to regrow. And I think this deserves a round of applause. What do you say? Yeah, thank you. Now, it should be noted that this recovery isn't uniform throughout the park, and this may be because bison numbers, yes, bison have increased in some areas in recent years, clocking in at 2,000 pounds. With a speed of up to 35 miles per hour, they're more of a challenge to take down. So yeah, there's always something, people. I don't know what to say. In the meantime, when these babies grow up, they'll create an open canopy with filtered light, creating a habitat that supports a diversity of plants underneath it, like berry-producing shrubs adored by insects and birds alike. Beavers will fucking show up, because these trees are the preferred food and building material. So we can expect more beavers. What a day. After the break, we're leaving Yellowstone for the great down under and wolves for Woylies. Now, what the hell is that? Well, they are the damn best. So please, stay tuned.
ABC Wednesdays, Shifting Gears is back.
He has arisen.
Tim Allen and Kat Dennings return in television's #1 new comedy.
What?
With a star-studded premiere including Jenna Elfman, Nancy Travis, and...
Hey, buddy!
a big home improvement reunion.
Welcome.
Oh, boy.
That guy's a tool.
Shifting Gears, new Wednesdays, 8/7 Central on ABC, and stream on Hulu.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
And we're back. We are so back. And my friends, throw off that security blanket and get ready to expose yourself to a little something called a Woylie. To do so, we need to head on over to a magnificent place, a place not only massive in size, but one with an equally massive and damn important goal. So join me, will you, at the Mount Gibson Wildlife Sanctuary in Badamia country. And for my fellow geographically challenged Americans who may be hesitant to meet a creature from this continent and have no idea where this is exactly, don't worry. You're going to want like 3 of them by the time we're finished. Please, everyone, imagine Australia. Thank you. Point to the lower left-hand corner. Okay, there is Perth. Now, if you will, move that finger up about 220 miles north. Perfecto. Here we are at Mount Gibson, a huge sanctuary spanning 131,812 hectares, or just about 510 square miles. In its stunning creamy middle, you'll find a 30-square-mile predator-free area, which has been cleared of invasive pointy killer floofs like feral cats and foxes, and has been fenced off to protect those who live inside it as well. This sheltered place is home to nearly 10% of Australia's nationally threatened mammals, each with a name more joyous than the next. Tell me, which one do you want to represent your baseball or roller derby team? Holy shit, here we go. There's the greater bilby, the numbat, the greater stick nest rat, the western barred bandicoot, the red-tailed phascogale, the banded hare wallaby, and the shark bay mouse. I personally cannot choose. And today, we're going to talk about the extraordinary recovery of the bush-tailed batongs. Yes, you heard me. The bush-tailed batongs, a.k.a. the Woylie. This creature And all of those other creatures are part of the Australian Wildlife Conservancy's groundbreaking mammalian restoration project, which is a decade already in progress. The plan is deceptively simple. Find these endangered animals out there in the bush and bring them here to recruit their numbers. When it's looking good, release them to be rewild. The first part of that plan for the Woylie began way the fuck back in 2015, when 162 of the very last of them were plucked from their native habitat, a vast expanse covering central and southwestern Australia. Oh, and while we're at it, let's get to know our batongs a bit better, shall we? If you drop whatever non-marsupial you're holding right now and pick up your phone to tap on today's post, you'll see a photo of Mount Gibson's fenced area and a Woylie. Just standing there, being all fucking cute. I need you to look at its little folded hands. I can't deal with it. And speaking of hands, they can fit in yours. These 3-pound, 12 to 15-inch kangaroo meets squirrel meets mouse cuties are nocturnal marsupials who spend their nights looking for sweet, sweet fungi, which means they're soil engineers, spreading spores and seeds wherever they go. They breed all year round, and boy howdy, when they're not being decimated by foxes, cats, and really anything bigger than it, they go to town. Females are fertile at 6 months of age and give birth every 3.5 months, for 6 years. For the past 100 years, however, between predation from introduced species and the introduction of the European rabbit, who breeds and eats like fire themselves, by the 1920s, the Woylie was extinct over much of its range. But this is all about to change. When those few Woylies were brought to the center, their relief was immediate, and they certainly got their groove back. According to AustralianWildlife.org, these bouncy bundles, quote, proved to be among the most adaptable of the reintroduced species. Within the first 2 years of their arrival, the population grew rapidly, spread out across the enclosure, and some individuals even managed to climb their way out of the fenced area. As early as 2017, some individuals were being found outside, and Woylies have been regularly detected beyond the fence since 2019, when on-site ecologists deployed motion sensor cameras to monitor outside fence activities. The cameras have picked up multiple females with their young in their pouches or at their heels, and we caught one Woylie 2 years in a row. These are all indications that some Woylies are breeding and surviving outside the fence, and that the species is ready for an intentional release, said Dr. Amanda Bourne, AWC regional ecologist. End quote. My friends, turns out these Woylies have some goddamn nerve, grit, and they are extremely horny. This is the perfect combination for projects like the Mammal Restoration Plan. Within 10 years, the protected population grew from 162 to over 1,000. And that's quite a number for a scant 30 square miles, so it was time. This year, 140 lucky Woylies were chosen to be rewilded within the greater Mount Gibson area, and if you drop whatever stupid shit you're holding right now and pick up your phone, you can see the best goddamn release photos ever. I'll give you a second. As you can see, the Woylies catch some fucking air. My favorite photos are of Joshua Hungerford, a field ecologist wearing a blue jacket. He's clearly been kicked in the crotch before, because he's in a defensive posture, though his face says he's having a great time. The next photo is of an unnamed individual who's leaning as far back as possible so as not to get kicked in the face, and I love it. And I can see the look on your face from here. It's one of concern. I think you're thinking, Jill, this is the best thing ever, but aren't they still at risk out there? I'm so glad you asked. The team had the same thoughts as well, and took precautions to assist all released animals in the future. According to AustralianWildlife.org, the AWC's field team spent the last 5 years reducing the number of cats and foxes across 70,000 hectares of land outside the fenced area. Thanks to the team's efforts, cat activity level is at 1.7 detections per 100 camera trap nights, and that is the lowest it's been in years. 40 Woylies were fitted with teeny bow tie-like radio collars, which will be used to track their progress and to compare survival inside and outside the fenced area. And the team will run a trapping survey every few months. Tim Allard, AWC Chief Executive, said it best, quote, "This program is now reaching new goals for large-scale reintroductions across the country. To be able to now release animals outside the safe havens is a huge step forward in reestablishing the faunal assemblage that should be here in the wheat belt." End quote. Well, Godspeed, little kangaroo meets squirrel meets mouse thing. We'll be cheering you on as you kick people in their soft bodies. And thank you for listening, rating, subscribing, telling your friends about trees. And then when they're like, trees, what the fuck are you talking about? Tell them, like, it starts with wolves. Tell them all the really bad shit, and then they'll be like, what? How is this good? And then get to the point where it's just like, how fucking wonderful it is. And they'll be like, wow, that's great. And then tell them about Woylies. To open your phone, show them a photo. And then you'll both just have this blissful moment together, which will probably end really quick once you check the news. Anyway, a bouncy thanks to the folks over at Airwave Media, the podcast network to which WTI belongs. If you love this show, and you do, you'll love the other podcasts in this family. And please, stay interesting.